According to recent reports, the Cleveland Cavaliers have interest in Denver Nuggets forward Peyton Watson, and honestly, the basketball fit is easy to understand. The problem is the next contract and the trade itself. Let's talk about that. Peyton Watson is exactly the type of player that would fit Cleveland's needs to a T and what every contender would want. He's 6'8", incredibly athletic, can guard multiple positions, and has already shown flashes of becoming one of the better defensive wings in the NBA. For a Cavaliers team that's looking to replace some of that perimeter defense they lost this offseason in losing Dean Wade and Keon Ellis, Watson would check a lot of those boxes, and I mean a lot. He's young, fits the timeline alongside Mobley, and doesn't need the ball in his hands to impact winning. That's a really ideal fit next to stars like Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. This past season for the Denver Nuggets, Watson posted averages of 14.6 points, 4.9 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and 1.1 blocks while completing nearly 50% of his field goals, including a brilliant 41.1% of his attempts from long distance. It's a versatility for me, if we're being honest. He plays within the 97th percentile in defensive positional versatility, spending a great deal of time taking on each position group. And the best part is that you can feel comfortable throwing him on everybody. He placed within the 97th percentile in perimeter isolation defense, and his screen navigation was really impressive too, another area where he graded really well. This dude quite literally had the highest block percentage among wings with at least 500 minutes played this season at 1.9%. And one of my favorite stats above everything else is the fact that Watson shot a staggering 46.8% on catch and shoot attempts in 2025-26. This dude was money. And speaking of money, that unfortunately is where things get rather complicated. According to reports, most of Denver's extensions have been in that $16 to $18 million per year range. Apparently, that is not enough money for Watson. Watson is reportedly seeking a deal that exceeds the one that Christian Brown signed, a 5-year, $125 million contract, which averages $25 million annually. That is a massive difference in pay, and it's one that the Cavaliers would have to think long and hard about. Now, there's no doubt Watson has the upside. He's an elite athlete, an impactful defender out there, and still just scratching the surface offensively speaking. If he continues to develop his three-point stroke and becomes a more consistent scorer, that contract could eventually look like a bargain. But that's still a projection. Right now, you're paying for what you believe he'll become and not necessarily what he already is. It's the same conversation that the Cavaliers are already having with Evan Mobley. They gave him that contract partially based upon what he could potentially develop into in the future. For Cleveland, the question becomes pretty simple. Is Peyton Watson worth giving up assets for if you're already preparing to hand him a contract north of more than $25 million per season? That's a much tougher conversation to have. The Cavaliers are already navigating the aprons, and every dollar up to this point matters. While Watson fits perfectly from a basketball perspective, the financial side of the equation could ultimately make a deal difficult to pull off. Not to mention the fact that many moves involving Watson heading to Cleveland would require a third and possibly fourth team for salary cap reasons to execute. It's not impossible for Denver and Cleveland to work together, but it's really hard to envision a trade between these two teams that doesn't involve multiple players from Denver that they want to hold on to heading back to Cleveland just to make salaries work. I'm not sure that they'll go for just a Max Strus level acquisition, even if it's attached to a first round pick or two. I'm not sure that is enough to move the needle. So you may have to get a third or fourth team involved to be able to get this thing going, right? Personally, I love the player. Obviously, I think Peyton Watson would fit seamlessly into what Kenny Atkinson likes to do and give Cleveland another long, versatile defender on the wing. But if his asking price is really north of $25 million per year, Kobe has to decide whether or not that upside is worth the investment. Now, another potential idea to think about here is Cam Johnson. Should Denver prioritize keeping Watson, who is a restricted free agent, at all costs? That could make Cam Johnson a viable target. But what do you think? Would you trade for Peyton Watson and pay him exactly what he is asking, or is that simply too much for a player that you think may still have something to prove? Let me know in the comments below. As always, go Cavs.